you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
Welcome to my channel. This is Divested Diamonds. You have arrived. Hello, ladies. This, unfortunately, is a tragic one. But as always, the truth must be told. We're living in a new age now. The days of silence and coddling grown-ass individuals who cause trauma to others are gone. I would like to welcome you to episode 1 of the Dysfunctional Tales of Blackistan, where we are going to unpack the dark side of Blackistan. The aim here is to hopefully get as many black women and girls as possible away from this cesspool of dysfunctional behavior. The following is probably not going to be shocking to most of you because, well, Blackistan. Now, when I first saw this story about a week ago, I immediately put it on the to-do list. I went about my business, and about a couple of days ago, possibly 3 days ago, it resurfaced all over again. And so I felt that was a sign for me to talk about it. Listen, just when you think mammies couldn't get any worse, here comes another one of these wild banshees showing their evil selves in the most demonic way possible. They never disappoint. So you have a woman here from Richmond, Texas, who was convicted in a Fort Bend County court for allowing her 13-year-old daughter to endure sexual abuse by a 47-year-old man as, quote unquote, a normal part of their religious beliefs. Cherry or Sherry Payton, 43, was convicted of continuous sexual abuse of a young child and sentenced to 30 years in prison approximately 2 weeks ago, according to the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office. Prosecutors said that in 2017, the victim, that would be her daughter, right, the 13-year-old child, admitted to her doctor that she was sexually active with, wait for it, her husband. I mean, do people actually wonder why it is that we encourage black women and girls to leave this cursed community? Let's put aside the fact that this child should never have been in this situation to begin with, right? This man was 47 years old. Payton, who was also at the doctor's office, said the victim was married with her consent, and the marriage was a part of her religious beliefs. Prosecutors discovered that Payton allowed the victim to be married for nearly a year before coming to the attention of the authorities. They also had evidence that Payton had sexually abused the victim herself under the guise of a different religion. What's wrong with these women? Now, while a person must be 18 years old to be legally married in Texas, there are certain, quote unquote, exceptions. There are certain exceptions that allow minors who are at least 16 years of age to marry. Although the child victim in this case was failed by her mother time and time again, she was surrounded in the courtroom by a strong support system. Prosecutor Jessica Ramos said, "We are grateful to her adoptive mother, her court advocate, her CASA, and the caseworkers from Child Protective Services that supported the child throughout this investigation and trial." You know, this is beyond disgusting. People would normally expect the mother to be the first line of defense from those intending to inflict harm or any kind of inappropriate action towards their child. It's very seldom that women are caught up in such situations, especially when it comes to their own children. However, that doesn't mean that it never happens. There are women, or rather, females out there who participate heavily in the abuse of their own offspring. Sadly, this child was marked from birth. She was born to a deranged, degenerate mother who was most likely abused in the same way, or perhaps not, but lacked the humanity to love and protect her own daughter. This is the stuff that nightmares are made of. A lot of these mammies and dusties think that they are untouchable by the law. And sorry to break it to you, but you're not. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the type of woman who has so much disdain for her own daughter, an innocent child, to the point where she deems it okay to expose her to this kind of grotesque behavior and treatment. You see, it wasn't enough that she molested the child herself. She had to pass her around and marry her off to a man old enough to be her father. And for what? Religion? This child should never have been forced to engage in any type of sexual activity with anyone. She is a child. She's underage. I'm so sick and tired of the so-called community thinking any girl is ripe for the picking. This is not right. It will never be right. Her body is still growing, and this adult thought it was a good idea to put his dirty peen inside of her? These animals will fuck anything. If it's not the children, it's the women. If it's not the women, it's the animals. If it's not the animals, heck, just give them a jam jar. They will fuck that too. What is wrong with them? These mammies are out of control, and they're lost. Lost in Blackistani sauce. They are dangerous. Here's the thing about dusties. At least they have shown their true colors over the years, and our expectations of them are very low. But to be a woman and engage in such atrocious behavior is unconscionable. These are the same types of women who are out there helping these men in child sex trafficking. In recent times, they have been the ones luring children into situations that are getting them captured and sold to the highest bidder. It's very sad when you are born to a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is also part of the reason why they get upset when other Black women refuse to stay and endure this type of mental torture. You see, it's better for them to have other women with their mindset working in large numbers to continue perpetuating this dysfunction, because not only is there money to be made in these situations, there's a clandestine and insidious issue at hand that must be fulfilled. The need to please a market of men who are into this kind of lifestyle is apparently more important than taking care of their children. These are the same women who blame children once they discover that Dirty Dick Tyrone, who is also their boyfriend, has been molesting their kids. This is beyond disgusting, and I have no idea how she thought that she would get away with it, especially after a doctor's visit. Was she expecting the child not to talk? I'm guessing she didn't think things through because she might have thought that she would get away with it on religious grounds. It kind of shows just how stupid these women are. They will do anything for a man, even if it means pimping their own daughters out to these pedophiles. How is this normal? She literally gave her child to this man to be used and abused in every way possible. This is nothing new. The so-called Black community has been engaging in such practices for a very long time. Even the color purple, argue as they may, told no lies. It mimicked the reality of the so-called community. You have grown-ass adults negotiating the use of a child and her cooch as if she were nothing but a sex doll. A morally inept mother and a pedophile getting into some sort of arrangement to defile a child who would have absolutely no say in it. The only person who's supposed to protect her is also her abuser and trafficker. Make that make sense. Please make it make sense. It's the stuff of nightmares. The sexualization of girls in the so-called community is also part of the reason other people don't take Black girls seriously when they speak of their abusive experiences, their trauma. When such atrocities are being done at a foundational level, that brokenness is never fixed. The trauma is carried forward into adulthood and manifests itself in our behaviors. There's no healing from this. The only thing you can do is find a way to live with it. You're the one who's left to pick up the pieces because after everything's been said and done, it's still your problem and not theirs. They will have moved on from this, but unfortunately, not you. You're the one who has to live with it because your memory serves as a blueprint to your trauma. This is more than sad because it turns most Black women into living tragedies through no fault of their own. Every state has an age of consent, but it's extremely unfortunate that child marriage is still promoted in the US. It's not a foreign issue. Child marriages are legal in this country as long as you follow your state laws. Surprised? You shouldn't be. This crap has been happening in plain sight for hundreds of years. Please listen to the following, and I'll be right back with the rest of my commentary.
This study is shedding light on a centuries-old issue that is still happening across the United States. Child marriage. Yes, child marriage. Most states allow marriage before a person turns 18. It's only illegal in 4 states, and 2 of them, Pennsylvania and Minnesota, just banned the practice this month. According to data from unchainedatlast.org, a group combating forced and child marriage in the U.S., hundreds of thousands of children were legally married since the year 2000. News Nation's Ashley Ketz has a closer look at this issue tonight.
It's a topic that's fueled debate among policymakers and people across America.
When I talk about this issue, invariably somebody says, child marriage, is that a thing? Well, it is, and it is a problem.
We don't even let people take a drink until they're 21. Are we going to let them get married when they're 16? It just doesn't make any sense.
The organization Unchained at Last just released a new study funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which found nearly 300,000 children under the age of 18 were legally married between 2000 and 2018. Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware are the only states where 18 is the legal age to get married. In 10 states, the legal age is 17. In 21 states, you have to be 16. In 3 states, 15. And in 2 states, just 14. One of those states is North Carolina, where a bill to raise the age to 16 just passed the Senate last week.
I'm highly encouraged by the legislation that is being considered by a number of different states, particularly the bright line of 18, which would end child marriage in that state without exceptions.
Kate Ryan is the director of the documentary Knots, a forced marriage story.
The concept of marriage, the concept that I was going to get married, was a conversation that we started to have right around the time I was maybe 11.
Ryan shares stories of women who were forced into marriage and claims it's gone underreported and unnoticed in the United States for decades.
So it doesn't matter whether you're in a city, in a rural part of the country, in the suburbs, whatever religion you may practice, or a lot of secular communities as well, all kinds of ethnic, socioeconomic backgrounds.
Ryan says child marriage is a diverse issue with lifelong consequences.
Increased risk of domestic violence, poverty, lack of education, severe mental and physical health issues are also a huge issue with those who have experienced this kind of trauma.
Ashley Ketz, News Nation.
Like most folks, you would never have guessed it was legal in almost the entire country.
And as young as 14 years old, child.
Wow.
Please check the description bar below for links to these websites. There's a lot of information on there on what you need to know in order to protect your children from being victims of such heinous crimes. It's funny how we as a country are more concerned about woke ideology when we should be out here protecting children from being harmed. And for those of you who are unaware, pedophiles are now fighting for rights. They have been trying to rebrand themselves by calling themselves MAPs, M-A-P, which stands for Minor Attracted Persons. They think, right? This is their logic. They think that the term pedophile paints them in a bad light, and people need to give them a chance because engaging in sexual activity with children is a sexual orientation. Let that sink in. And at first, I was like, which woman in her right mind will allow a pedophile to be in any kind of relationship with their child? But these women do exist. Exhibit A. And there are plenty of women like her where she came from. This is why, if you have children, you need to pay attention to what they're being taught in school, because there is currently a lot of grooming going on. They have already attached themselves to the rainbow community, and they are in your children's classrooms, indoctrinating your kids. They are sexualizing them. And if you think that Netflix Cuties was bad enough, that was them testing the waters to see how much outrage there would be. There's a trans professor defending these animals. Take a look.
So much for that question. I use the term minor attracted person, or MAP, in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile. A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender. And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction.
So there you have it. There are so many moving parts to this issue, it's mind-numbing. My advice to anyone with children: talk to them and ask them what's really going on at school. They did say a while ago, members of the rainbow community that is, that they were coming for your children, right?
As we celebrate Pride and the progress we've made over these past years, there's still work to be done. So to those of you out there who are still working against equal rights, we have a message for you.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep them from disco, warn about San Francisco, make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
At first I didn't get why you'd be so scared of us turning your children into accepting, caring people, but I see now why you'd have a problem with that.
Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protests. Oh, and you'll be disgusted so gross when they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight, like information. Guess what? You'll still be alright. We'll convert your children, yes we will. Reaching one and all, there's really no escaping it. 'Cause even grandma likes RuPaul, and the world's getting kinder. Gen Z's gayer than Grindr. Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your fate. We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. Your children will care about fairness and justice for others. Your children will work to convert all their sisters and brothers. Then soon we're almost certain your kids will start converting you. The gay agenda is coming home. The gay agenda is here. But you don't have to worry. Cause there's nothing wrong with standing by our side. Get on board in a hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride. No, you don't have to worry. Because there's nothing wrong with standing by your side. Get on board in a hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride. Come on, try a little pride. We'll convert your children. Then we'll turn to you. Giving up the fear inside is freeing like you never knew. Go and see San Francisco. Go and turn up that disco. You'll forget you were ever upset. We'll convert your children and make an ally of you yet. We'll make an ally of you yet. We'll make an ally of you yet.
It's very sad, all the agendas being pushed and embraced. It's just a matter of time before morality completely goes out the window. And if you think that this agenda isn't going to be legalized, I don't know what to tell you. All I can say is divest from the so-called black community. While it's going to be bad everywhere else, it's always worse in the black so-called community, because touching children inappropriately is something that's been normalized and kept hidden for a very long time. Imagine what will happen once they start passing laws saying being in those types of relationships is a sexual orientation. What do you think will happen to the poor, helpless young black women and girls in Blackistan? Please be safe. Protect the children. Expose those who engage in this fuckery. Gather evidence. Call the police. Have them arrested and have regular conversations with your children, because this issue goes beyond Blackistan. Watch your politicians and be mindful of who you vote for. Let's protect the children. You have to remember this. Bad mothers do exist. And if you see something and you can prove it, use your voice to save a life. Children are not meant to be married to anyone. Stolen innocence can never be restored. And if you see something, please say something. So, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, it's not normal, nor is it okay to hurt or sexualize children. If you suspect foul play and have evidence to prove it, call the police. You can do it anonymously too. Thank you so much for watching. This is Divested Diamonds, and I'll see you next time. Bye, Diamonds.